Hey guys, how's it going? My name is Kos from MadeToCreate.me and I am joined today by none other than Mr. Taser Tear Out himself.
Doing pretty well, how about you?
Pretty good, thanks for asking. Today, we got something super special for you. That's why I brought in the special guest. We're going to be showing you how to do this. Holy shit! Can I say that?
Go for it.
I was listening to that song. It's the Make a Move remix by Skrillex, originally by Torro Torro. And I was listening to that, I was just like, damn, like how did they get those sounds? And I was just like, man, I gotta bring in my boy Taser. He knows exactly what to do. He knows exactly how to do this. He's really big into sound design. And yeah, so he was kind enough to come by today. Also, before we actually dive into this, Taser just released a new music video for one of his songs called Chance.
Yes.
Yeah, so what's that about?
The lyrics are interesting because they're about, obviously they're about a love story. However, they have a robotic sound over top of them in that it's very heavily auto-tuned, like T-Pain-esque.
Cool. Yeah.
And it just kind of, it all came together when the creators of the music video kind of thought, hey, let's make it a robot love story.
So, yeah, obviously, like, when I saw the video, I was totally wowed by it. So I'm gonna play a 10-second little clip, and you guys are gonna watch this, because Taser's about to show you something really cool. So next...
You pick up the pieces and we're alone now. We don't know anymore. You broke your heart 1,000 times. These words cut you like a knife. Take a deep breath now. Look what you're doing. You know you need to recognize that you was not the
Yeah, man, again, so super cool. You guys should all check it out. I'm gonna leave a link in the description box below, and I'll blend in a link right now that is clickable for you guys, so you don't have to go digging in the description. So Taser, what do you got for us today?
Alright, well, today we'll be looking at the drop sound for this.
Fucking cool.
So that FM sound is what we're going to be focusing on right now. You can do it easily in any kind of DAW out there. I use Reason because I'm stubborn and don't like using proper DAWs. But, you know, FL, Ableton, Cubase, Nuendo, you have it. This is doable. So I'll disable all the effects I've used here to give you an idea of what it sounds like to begin with. So this is just with the FM and a little bit of modulation on top of it. So already,
just that alone is crazy.
Sounds pretty beefy on its own. So that was done in 0, which is a lot like Citrus for those of you that use FL. I've modulated a couple of the carrier frequencies and the pitch. In another video I'll explain FM because it's a pretty big beast. So we'll touch on that later. So the first effect I've used on here is just a basic filter with some resonance on it to give it more of a whippy sound. So it goes from being this to being something a little bit more like this.
That's where he gets the sound. And you're automating that?
I'm automating that, yeah. So they're real quick whips, like they're quick transient attacks on the filter to get that kind of whippy sound. So the effect after that, I've applied an equalizer, which sweeps through the frequencies with a rather large bell to give this kind of movement feel to it. So with that, it sounds like this. So it gives it, I've got one that's peaking and one that's making a trough. So it's taking away some frequency bands and then it's adding others, which is making this really cool kind of wavy feel, I suppose.
And that's also done through automation?
This is also done through automation, yes. So we've got the automation lanes. Where the hell are they? They're here. There they are. Reason's pretty simple. You have an automation lane which you create by right-clicking, edit automation. And then you come over here and you just draw in a quick lane and you can play with the heads. Cool. Alright, so that's being automated as well. I've just got a quick band filter here because I'm removing some of the low end because with FM comes a lot of low end rumble and I just want to get rid of all that. I want this to be a clean signal. After that we've got a unison effect, which is sort of like a chorus. I've got it very low, dry, wet, because I just want a little bit of thickness in there. This adds a bit of stereo interest. which is huge. You might not notice a bit of difference, but I'll play it anyway. Maybe a bit of a difference there. It's a little bit more wet. Then there's another bandpass because I like making sure there are no low end. And then I've got another EQ. This is more just housekeeping because the sound on its own, as you've heard, is kind of thin sounding. There's a lot of mids. So what I've done here is I've removed sort of the 2K zone, which we're really sensitive to as humans. And I've boosted the lower end, which is where a lot of the beef comes from. So that sounds a little bit more like this now. So after the EQing, I've got a saturation knob. Saturation's interesting. I've set it to keep low. And what that does is it brings out a little bit of harmonic content, so distortion. But it also boosts the bass a little bit more. So before saturation, it sounds... Then with it...
Oh.
Yeah, so that's where a lot of the beef comes from.
Yeah.
So we'll plug a link in the description down below. It's in VST form and AAX as well. So for those using, I don't know, Ableton, FL, even Pro Tools, this is free to use for you guys. Free stuff is good stuff, yo.
Really cool.
All right, so after that, we've got something called the Echo, which is just a delay unit. And what I've done here is called tonal delay. It adds a little bit of heft. I don't think Skrillex actually used this, but I thought it sounded interesting, so I'd throw it in there. So basically what I've got going on, I've got a really short delay time, and the frequency is really high, so it has this cool metallic sheen to it. So before, it sounds like this, which already sounds pretty hefty, and then we add in this.
Gives it a little bit more depth as well, huh?
Yeah, it does.
Yeah.
Usually have the ping pong effect on, which means it delays left and right. That adds a cool stereo image. I think it was too much for this sound though, which is why I left it off. So next up, we have something called Splex, which is just a simple multi-band compressor. And what that's basically doing is I've compressed the low end, I've compressed the mids a lot, which will actually bring out the ring of the metallic tone from the tonal delay. And I've super compressed the top end to give it that nice sheen. So without it, it sounds something like this. And then with it, it'll sound something like this. So a little bit more compressed and glued
Definitely
together.
a really cool sound.
Yeah, it's nice. So after that, I've got an equalizer.
Next equalizer.
Next equalizer, you know it.
Equalizer number 4.
Number 4. Here, just for you. Done.
So what'd you do here?
So here, I've destroyed everything below 30 hertz to remove any kind of rumble going on. I've once again taken away, carved out most of the low ends, adding a little bit of a boost to the mids. And I've carved out here the super top end because I don't want it to be shrill. I just want it to be pleasant. So without it, there'll be a subtle difference. So we have this. And then with it, we've got this. So there's a little bit more mid information.
Cleaner.
Yeah, it's cleaner.
Yeah.
Another bandpass filter because of course I like those. And we've got some reverb. Reverb is really handy because it adds a lot of space to your bass. You'll notice that a lot of basses in dubstep, electro, any of those bass-intensive genres, there is a little bit of reverb on top of everything because it adds some space to the whole mix. So what I've done here is the dry wet is really low, and it's on room reverb, so it's a very small decay after it. Just add some space, as I said. So here's what the reverb sounds like. So it's there's a very small decay on it. So as I bring that down, so then after that, I've just got a maximizer on it, which basically takes the whole sound, which has peaks all over the place, and kind of crushes it down to a nice sausage.
The sausage fattener reference.
The sausage fattener, ladies and gentlemen. And there you are. That's the main sound.
Alright, cool. Hey, play it again.
Play it again.
Alright, again. So nothing too crazy going on there. It's really stunning when you're listening to the track. You're just like, wow, all that stuff's going on. But when you really break it down to these small parts, there's really not that much. It's all just basic effects that's
right.
happening. So
Yep.
pretty crazy. One other thing that really stood out to me in the Skrillex remix of that Torro Torro song was that vocal effect, that really crazy vocal effect that kind of kicks in before the drop.
Yeah.
And we talked a little bit about it before the show, and Taser was actually showing me how it's done, and it's actually ridiculous how...
Why don't you make a move?
Okay, I'm back in New Zealand. So really simple microphone, and I mean the AKG was like $150 or something.
Something like that, yeah.
Yeah. Really basic microphone that it is recorded on, and but with the effects it sounds so crazy. So why don't you take us through how exactly you made that sound? Because yeah.
Sure. All right. So to begin with, I'll show you the sound and what it sounds like before I strip away all its beauty.
It's crazy.
So it sounds a little something like this.
Why don't you make a move?
Cool.
All right. So the first thing I've done is I've added a bit of tube distortion, and what that does is it brings out some of the grainier characteristics of the sound. So before it sounds.
Why don't you make a move? Why don't you make a move?
Right. It's kind of thick. It's kind of smooth, but that's not what we want. So we're gonna add in some tube distortion here, and it sounds a little bit more like this.
Why don't you make a move?
Really cool.
Yeah, so there's a bit of it, I've chopped out the low end and left the mids and highs alone, and that'll help our vocoder in the future. So
it's crazy how, I guess that's like the first step to like robotizing it a little bit. It almost sounds like there's already like a vocoder or something like that affecting it.
yeah, definitely. So next up, I'll show you guys the actual vocoding process. What we've got going on here, we've got a basic sawtooth wave. It's nothing special. And I've boosted the EQ here, so I'll give you an idea of what it sounds like.
So that's just the synth basically that's going to be affecting your vocals.
That's the synth that's going to be affecting my vocals. So again, basic sawtooth wave in a sub bass because you want it to be really grainy and thick. I've boosted the top end so there's more top end information for the consonants to come out. And then up here, where the actual vocoding happens, we've got a Yoko bandpass splitter in order to remove the low ends because I don't want it to be too bassy in the mix, followed by the vocoder itself. So it's very basic vocoding. We're just applying the sawtooth wave to my voice so that it goes from sounding like this.
Why don't you make a move?
To sounding something more like this.
Why don't you make a move?
Really cool. And in the project itself?
There's a MIDI note playing to trigger the low sawtooth wave, and it's an E. It's an E note because the song's in E minor. So that's the vocoding effect. There's not a whole lot going on there, but of course, as you heard, it's very quiet. So I've applied a little bit more distortion over top, more tube distortion to bring out the graininess of the feel. So without that, it sounds like this.
Why don't you make a move?
And then with it, it's this.
Why don't you make a move?
And that's where most of the fatness comes from, I guess.
That's where all the fatness comes from, yeah. So then after that, we've got another EQ, because I love my EQs. And we're boosting the low end, we're boosting the high end, and we're actually cutting below 30 hertz. The reason for that is tube distortion is notorious for its offsets. So what that means is that, say you've got your threshold of sound here, and you've got sound playing, blah, 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 blah. What tube distortion tends to do is it takes that whole section and pushes it up or down.
Sure.
So we're undoing that. So there's a little bit more headroom in the mix. So without it, it sounds like this.
Why don't you make a move?
And then with it, we've got this.
Why don't you make a move?
So it's a lot thicker.
There it is, yeah.
Yeah, definitely. And then finally, we've got a little bit of digitizing here. So what's going on here, it's a plugin called Resampler by Blamsoft. And it's basically, it's a bit distortion unit. So usually these come in 3 stages. There's a downsampler, there's a quantizer, and then there's the final upsampler. So the downsampler, what it does is it pulls apart your actual, your bit rate.
Really popular sound in dubstep, huh?
It's a really popular sound in dubstep. This is how most people get that, that yoi bass things going on. The next step then is called the quantizer. And what that does is it pulls apart your bit depth. So you know how you get 8-bit, 16-bit, 24-bit depths. Right. And then finally you've got the upsampler, which is basically it takes that raw, destroyed tone and anti-aliases it, and it chops off some of the lower end. It kind of turns it kind of polishes a turd. Is really what it's doing.
Too. Yeah.
So I'll play it again one last time, just to give you an idea of what it sounds like as a full package. And yeah, hope you guys enjoyed.
Why don't you make a move?
Yeah.
Yo, well, Taser, thank you so much for coming out today.
No problem.
It was a really pleasure having you here with us. If you guys like the video, just hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, maybe leave a comment for my boy Taser, and definitely make sure to check out his video, Sad Robot. I'm sure he'd appreciate it. He's just started his YouTube channel, and yeah, maybe we could help him get it off the ground a little bit.
And finally, we'll throw up an annotation somewhere of the basic principles of FM synthesis.
Hey, well, thanks again for being here.
Thanks for having me.
And yeah, we'll see you guys in the next video.
Laters.
Perfect.
Good game. I want to turn the screen towards us.